Hi, my name is Monica Duarte, and I am a brand identity alchemist and spiritual coach. I'm here to assist you in transforming your life and brand from the inside out. Before we get started with today's video, please make sure to subscribe. If you're into creativity, transformation, or branding, I do share valuable information weekly. So make sure to subscribe so that you receive those videos and that information every week. And also make sure to like my video to help me grow my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to find out what your top archetype or one of your top archetypes is. So what I basically created is an Archetype Guides Test. So I'm going to show you how to actually take that test. And when you take the test, you will receive a profile of the specific archetype that you got for your test, the results that you got. So I'm going to go through the profile and what the information, how to use that information in your life. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to take you over to my screen and I will show you how to do that.
Hey, this is Monica. This recording is just to show you where you can go to take my Archetype Guides Test and then show you what the profile is going to look like or similar to that, and just kind of explain the different sections in the profile. So the first thing you want to do is actually go to my website, which is monicaoduarte.com, which I will put in this video. And I will also put another link if you want to go directly to the test, so you don't have to go through all these different steps. But if you do go through my website, know that you will have to do these specific steps to get to the test. So first you want to go to my website, and then under the Go Within tab, you're going to see the first thing, so Archetype Guides Test. So go ahead and click there. And it's going to take you to where you can begin your test. So it'll just take a moment to load. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so you'll see the test here. And then when you hit the start test, you'll be prompted to answer the questions. Now, before you start the test, you want to follow the directions right here very carefully, because you want to be as honest as possible when you take your test with yourself. So here it says, for the following questions, please select how much you agree with each statement. For full accuracy, please do not skip any questions. Follow your gut with your answers. Do not overthink your response. You should go with whatever feels right first. When choosing your answers, focus mainly on how you feel about yourself right now in your life, but also consider if the statement has been true as a pattern throughout your life. So the reason for that is because you actually want to take at least a moment to kind of go within to see if you resonate with that answer. Usually the first gut feeling you get is the correct one, but if you notice yourself questioning yourself too much, you definitely want to think about, if you're not getting that gut feeling, you definitely want to think about, like, has this been something that I've been experiencing throughout my life, to help support you with the answers. And so you can go ahead and start the test here, and then it'll prompt you to take the test. There's a few questions on here, and the reason for that is because I wanted to actually create a test that's very in-depth and more accurate. So the more questions you have, the more accurate it actually is. The less questions you have, statistically, sorry, I can't talk, there is a higher chance of error that you might have that as your strong archetype. So, or with any test. So sometimes it's best to have more questions. And then you just basically select, if you agree with the statement here. For example, I like to look at situations from many angles. So you can select agree, mostly agree, sometimes agree, mostly disagree, or disagree, like if you don't completely resonate with that. So once you take your test, it's going to take you to a prompt to put in your email information. And the reason for that is because I actually need to have that information so that you can download your profile. Without that, I can't do that. So you'll receive more information about, archetypes and how to work with archetypes through my subscription. And it's free, obviously. You don't have to pay or anything like that. So it's all benefit to you. And I just get to basically just share more information about this specific topic with you. So once you do that, we can go through the profile, and we'll do that next. All right, so now we're going to go over what you're gonna get once you put in your information, you're gonna get a profile depending on what archetype you got. So I'm gonna go through my archetype because I thought it just would be more appropriate. So my archetype is the magician. So this is the profile that you'll get, when you do that. If you get the magician, obviously, if you get a different archetype, the profiles are similar except the information is different. So it's a beautiful profile that I design specifically for you. And so let's go over it from the top. So the first thing you'll see is, your archetype. And for archetypes, I actually use this for the symbols. I actually decided to use totem animals instead of the normal, typical archetype symbols, because totem animals I found to be a very practical way to actually work with archetypes in your daily life. So the idea is that, these totem animals are symbols and they represent something, especially in the Native American tradition. These animals, these beings have a medicine to share with us. So when you can understand what that medicine is, you can incorporate that medicine into your life. So for example, in this case, the butterfly represents transformation. So it's very appropriate to be using for the magician because the magician is about transformation. So the idea is that when you see these totem animals, it reminds you to focus on transformation, or what the symbol means. So that's why I chose to do totem animals instead of the regular, or the typical symbols for the archetypes, because I felt like they were more practical and you can actually use them in your daily life. So the first section here, it'll just talk about, your North Star. The North Star is basically where your archetype feels like is pulled towards. So in the specific archetype, the magician is real transformation starts from within. So that's where you are going in your life, or what your essence is. So that's what that means. The magician's archetype subcategories, basically these are subcategories that fall under the magician. Again, the magician is one of the top, archetypes, and then there's subcategories underneath that. These are just some of them. So if you don't resonate with the word magician, you might resonate with one of these. I know I've had clients that resonate more with the shaman, or like for me, I resonate more with the alchemist. Other people resonate more with the medicine man or woman. And these archetypes are very similar to the magician. They may have a little bit of, like, their energy might be a little bit different, but the essence is kind of similar. So that's why these are kind of in that category. And then here, we go over the magician totem animal. So it talks about what the butterfly represents. And the purpose again for this is to help you understand how to apply that wisdom. When you see the butterfly, you'll receive a response to, this information to help guide your life. And so the magician gifts and magic, basically these are the gifts that your archetype has to provide you with. And these are just some of the gifts. There's a lot of them. And when I actually put out the extended version of these profiles, you'll see a lot more, but these are just some of them. So so basically these are the gifts that you have to offer when you fall in this category of the magician. You can tend to have these gifts that you naturally possess in your life. So you can go through that. And then this area, the magician spells to watch out for, these are the tendencies, like the negative tendencies that specific archetype can fall into. So it's very important to be mindful of these things, so that if you notice any of these things that is occurring in your life, or you could be, around somebody who has a strong magician and they're doing these specific things, then, you definitely want to, if it's you doing that, you want to be mindful of that and work to shift these to balance back to more of these positive aspects of the archetype. If you see somebody else having, these possessing these negative qualities, just know that they may have a strong magician archetype, and you really can't control them, but you can choose what you want to do for yourself. If it's, right for you to hang around this person, or what you can do for yourself, so you're not trapped in these spells that they could possibly, be putting out. And then during conflict and spells, basically it talks about how you deal with conflict, with the archetype, with that specific archetype, how the tendencies, like what tools you use to deal with your conflict. And this is really important to know because sometimes we don't really know how we actually resolve conflict, and each archetype, deals with conflict differently. So it's important to be aware of, like, if you have this strong archetype, to see if that's how you, when you are dealing with conflict, is if that's kind of how you, the first thing you go to. And if it's not, then it's good to kind of incorporate this into your life. And then to manifest a magician brand, briefly, it just gives you some ideas of what you can do to manifest a magician brand if you're looking to use archetypes to create a brand, a soulful brand. These are just some ideas. Again, when I create the more extended version of these profiles, I'm going to focus a lot more on the branding part. But this, I just wanted it to be kind of like a brief, just, information to start off with, because again, there's so much information to talk about this and share that it just could be overwhelming. So I want, my goal is to do like baby steps. The magician brands these are well-known brands in our society, that brands and companies that fall into the world of the magician. So for example, I put spas here. Spas naturally are in the territory of the magician. They're about transformation. And then here, there's other brands here that naturally fall into that world of the magician. And then I also included notable people and characters so that you can see how this archetype plays out, and even people in our society, like well-known people, celebrities, and then also in characters in movies and in books. So you can start to, see these archetypes out in the world and work with them in that way. And then we end here with actions to take now. And these specific action steps are based on your archetype, and, taking all the information we just went through. So you definitely want to practice this. If this is something that, you're reading this and you feel, I've never heard about this, you definitely want to start applying this, because it'll help you balance that archetype more. And in a lot of the profiles that I have, I actually give you advice on what other archetypes you can work with to help balance the archetype, your top archetype. So these are just some like really helpful action steps you can take to move forward in your life, to start applying that archetype in your life and balancing their energies. And then again, of course, I have to share references because this information is not all mine. I actually took quite a bit, a few years to learn all this stuff. This is 3 years so far. So I wanted to give credit to the appropriate people, because that's very important to me as a creator, that, the right people get credit. So these are some of the authors that I learned about, this information. I'm giving them credit. And so if you feel inspired to read their books and information, I highly recommend that. So that is the profile. And next, I'm going to show you, if you're interested in learning about the other archetypes, briefly, I'm going to show you where to go on my website to find that information. Okay, so if you want to learn more about all the 12 archetypes, because there's, again, 12 main ones, but there's a lot more, and the subcategories fall into this 12 main ones. So if you want to learn about those archetypes, you want to go back to my website, monicaduarte.com, and then go within, and then go to the Soul Brand Archetype Guides tab. And then that'll take you to a page where you will see all the other archetypes. So again, there's 12 main ones. And again, I categorize these based on totem animals. And they're actually categorized based on the development of, the human development as well. So I didn't talk about this in my last video, but I will make a video about it in the future, and talk about how archetypes play out in our lives, throughout our lives. There's a process that they actually come into our lives when we meet them. So I will talk more about that. So here, I talk a little bit about, where the whole idea of using totem animals and how to work with them. And here again, the first archetype is an innocent. So this is a super brief description of the archetype. It doesn't go into depth like the profile does. So again, that's why it's important to take the test so you can get the more in-depth version of your archetype. But if you were curious about the other archetypes, and again, if your profile gives you guidance to work with another archetype to balance your main archetype, you know, this is where you can go to look at the archetype and at least start to kind of tap into that energy and maybe do more research about that archetype. So again, we have the innocent archetype, the everyman, we have the warrior, the caregiver, the explorer, the rebel, the lover, the creator, the ruler, the magician, the sage, and the jester is the last one. And the way that these archetypes work, they actually start off with the innocent, and I'm talking about more on a, like an unconscious level. We start off with an innocent in our lives, and then we go through the process, you know, of all these archetypes throughout our lives, and then we get back to the innocent. And there's a very specific way that happens, and I will talk about this in a future video. I don't want to go into this right now because that's not the focus of this video. But yeah, so this is where you can go to find all the other archetypes and get more information. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send me a note through the video, and I will be happy to answer them. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.